Thank you for joining us for an update on the storm condition and storm preparation. Joining us today, Audrey Zibelman on my right, who's the Commissioner of the Public Service Commission, James Malatras, Director of State Operations, Joseph Giulietta, who's the President of the Metro North and is filling in for Tom Prendergast, who has a health issue that he's attending to, Ronnie Haycom, who is president of the MTA New York City Transit, Major General Patrick Murphy. To my left, Patricia Grover, who's the first deputy superintendent, New York State Police, Patrick Foy, head of the Port Authority, Matthew Driscoll, Commissioner, Department of Transportation, Bill Mulrose, Secretary to the Governor, who's in charge of everything. Anything that goes wrong, it is Bill Mulrose's fault, period, because he will assume total responsibility. John Melville, who is Commissioner of the New York State Department of Homeland Services. He's in charge of emergency management. It seems the weather forecasters got it right this time. Not that they don't always get it right, but there is a blizzard. It's come up the coast, and it is prepared to hit New York. It is now hitting New York. The eye of the storm is supposed to hit at 11 o'clock. I have declared a state of emergency, given the conditions that have been presented. The state of emergency is for New York City, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Putnam Counties, Rockland, and Orange counties. What a state of emergency does is it gives the governor power to do certain contracting abilities, close roads, close systems, etc., if the conditions dictate. Anyone who has looked out the window understands the conditions. The snowfall is forecasted up to 24 inches. The snow is combined with very high gusts of wind, which makes traveling and the road situation dangerous and difficult. We are keeping an eye on what I consider the worst of Mother Nature's wrath, which are flooding conditions in New York City and along Long Island. The flooding is probably the most problematic situation. It poses a real safety consideration. It does tremendous damage in its aftermath, so we're keeping an eye on that. In terms of what we have done in response, we are fully deployed, the National Guard. We have hundreds of pieces of equipment that have been moved down from the Department of Transportation. The state police have been dispatched all through the metropolitan area. So everything that can be done has been done in terms of deployment of resources from Homeland Security and every state agency that is responsive. The roads are open, but that is a deceptive statement. We have not closed the roads. However, as I've said before, and I can't say it forcefully enough, unless there is an emergency situation or a critical need, you should not be on the roads. I have been on the roads all through the metropolitan area this morning. They are incredibly dangerous. I don't care how superb a driver, how big a four-wheel drive vehicle you have, the roads are barely passable. And what always happens in these situations is it's one thing to deal with Mother Nature. Our own citizens can create the greatest issues. You go out on the road, all it takes is one car to get stuck, and now that road is not passable, and the plows can't plow that road, and the situation quickly descends into chaos. We have seen this time and time again, where we have said, don't be on the road unless you need to be on the road. People go out on the roads, and the situation gets dangerous. I've seen situations where people get stranded in cars overnight, and the situation gets frightening very quickly. So the roads are technically open, but if you really do not need to leave your house. I can't stress enough, you should not leave your house. The MTA is operating. We'll hear from President of New York City Transit Authority, Ronnie Hakam, about some particulars. We have issues on train routes, what's called exterior train routes that are exposed to the weather as opposed to the underground train routes. We have some equipment issues, signals, et cetera. And we have issues that are developing for the buses on the roads because the buses are having difficulty and the buses are getting stuck. And President Hakam will speak to that. Pat Foy will speak to the airports, but the airlines actually, I think, acted responsibly by canceling the flights ahead of schedule, which kept people off the roads and kept people from getting stranded in the airports. In terms of power outages, we have several thousand power outages, primarily on Long Island. That sounds like a lot in a situation like this. Actually, that's not overly problematic. And the utility companies have been good about getting to the power outages and correcting them, so that's good news. As I mentioned before, we are fully deployed in terms of assets and resources. We moved assets from upstate to the metropolitan area, and that has basically been completed, and they are in place. Silver lining is, unfortunately, this is probably the fifth, sixth, or seventh type of situation that we've dealt with. So we have experience in going through this. Also, especially in the metropolitan area, this is a different metropolitan area than we had when Superstorm Sandy hit. We've made a lot of improvements. The physical infrastructure has been changed. The shoreline has been changed. There are more berms. There are more barriers to high floods. Also, we have additional equipment. The airports are in a different position than they were. There's more pumps, more machinery to move water more quickly. We actually have more emergency response equipment than we've had in the past. So once the storm finishes, we'll be in a better position to clean up after the storm. This is not a short storm. They're talking about 2 full days of weather. But once that clears, we'll be in a better position to clean up as quickly as possible. We're in full coordination with all our governmental partners. I spoke to Governor Christie last night. We're in communication this morning. Obviously, whatever decision we make in New York State affects the other states. If we decide to close roads, for example, in New York State, if the roads are open in New Jersey, that creates problems, or vice versa. We've been speaking to all our local government partners, Mayor de Blasio, Nassau County Executive for Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Rockland, to get their best input. I'll be going to Long Island this afternoon. We are concerned about Long Island. The Long Island Expressway is a critical road that we've had issues before. Long Island Railroad has specific issues that Mr. Giulietta will speak to. And of course, flooding is a primary concern on Long Island. And we've experienced that before, and as I mentioned, that is probably the worst curveball that Mother Nature can throw is the flooding conditions, especially on Long Island. But with that, let me turn it over first to Ronnie Hakam, President of the MTA New York City Transit, to give us the update on what we're dealing with the subways and buses. Ronnie?
Thank you, Governor. You know, as you've noted, there are deteriorating weather conditions. Safety, of course, for our customers and our employees is our top priority. There is very poor visibility outside. There is very poor roadway conditions outside. Therefore, we think it is prudent to suspend all MTA and MTA New York City Transit bus service, the bus service, at noon this morning. We will be suspending all bus service at noon until further notice. We encourage all our customers, all MTA service customers, to go to mta.info for real-time travel information and updates on the services that we're providing. Let me note on the subway side, weather continues to be a concern around the maintenance of our above-ground, our exterior subway service. So we are watching that very carefully, and of course we'll provide any updates. Again, mta.info is the best place for real-time travel information. Thank you.
Thanks very much. We will go to Commissioner Matt Driscoll, who is the Commissioner of Transportation for the state, who will give us an update on the roads. Matt?
Thank you, Governor. Currently, we have all of our assets out plowing now, attacking the snowstorm. 510 plows, 88 loaders, and 6 tow plows with over 587 personnel. As you mentioned, and with the increased totals expected north in the Westchester region, we are currently shifting an additional 40 plows and trucks to that region, along with 88 personnel. I want to follow what the governor said as well. We are strongly urging all motorists to stay off the roads. One look outside should tell you why. Please let our plow operators do their job safely.
Great. Joseph Giulietta, who's the president of the Metro North Railroad, and as I mentioned, Tom Prendergast is out for a couple of days attending to a health issue. Nothing serious, but something that he had to attend to, and Mr. Giulietta is presiding in his absence. Joe?
Thank you, Governor. For both the Metro North and Long Island, our crews have all shown up. They're continuing to operate a Saturday service with minor delays. With the heavy accumulations that we're getting on the Long Island, our situation is the same on the Long Island as it is with the Transit Authority. We are going to have to monitor how the snow accumulations are going. It can have an effect on our services later in the day. We ask again that you stay tuned to MTA info, and again, we would urge people to use caution in terms of heading towards a service, and look forward to reporting to the governor later in the day.
Thank you. And Patrick Foy, who's the executive director of the Port Authority.
Thank you, Governor. Echoing the governor's statement, stay off the roads. There's really no reason. Let me tell you why. At the airport, substantially all flights have been canceled. All flights to LaGuardia have been canceled. Substantially all flights at JFK have been canceled. We expect remaining flights to be canceled as the day goes on. Check with your carriers as to the status today, tomorrow, rebooking. I'll note that we're using at the airports, JFK and LaGuardia, specialty plows with 26-foot blades that can clear snow at 40 miles an hour. PATH is operating on a weekend schedule with delays, very light passenger volume due to the weather and the New Jersey Transit shutdown that was announced yesterday. I'll note that all 6 PATH stations in Manhattan are below ground. Bridges and tunnels, the George Washington Bridge, we've imposed a 35-mile-an-hour speed limitation, 25 miles an hour speed limitation on the 3 Staten Island bridges. I'll note that all bridges, Port Authority and MTA, in the event, which have not been realized yet, but in the event of sustained 50-mile-an-hour winds or higher, trucks, motorcycles, motorhomes, and car-pulled trailers would be banned. Finally, I'll note, Governor, that at the Port Authority bus terminal, substantially all service has been suspended except for Greyhound service north. New Jersey Transit, which is the largest carrier at the bus terminal, announced its service was suspended yesterday. Back to you, Governor.
You would ban motorcycles on the George Washington.
Governor, it was a tough call. It would be a tough call.
I want to talk to the person who's driving the motorcycle today. Just to recap, the roads are open, but really you shouldn't be on them unless it's an emergency. MTA trains, the underground trains are operating. The ones that hit exterior lines, we're having some issues, but they're operating. Bus service will be suspended at noon today because the roads are difficult and the buses are having trouble maneuvering. And the MTA will inform people when that suspension is lifted. That'll depend on the weather as it goes through the day. With that, any questions, comments?
Governor, is there anything that's being done in terms of homeless people with the weather situation?
Well, when the weather is, drops below 32 degrees, inclement weather such as today, actually there's a different law that applies, that homeless are brought into shelter for their own good, and that law is in effect.
And specifically for this storm, is there any special efforts that are being?
The storm has triggered the 32-degree law, and that's being enforced by city personnel and state personnel.
No? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.